Hey guys, it's Jenny with the League-Kempner House in Galveston. I thought I might shoot our intro from the front today, but the street is incredibly noisy. Yesterday was kind of the unofficial senior skip day for schools in Texas, and tens of thousands of high schoolers cram these beaches, and it's pretty noisy out here today. So I'm going to move into the back. All right, and as I'm heading back, I've come across two of our volunteers, Sherry and Roman, which is appropriate. Let me tell you what's been going on. It's been another busy, chaotic week. Our schedule seems a little like chaos or a ping pong ball hopping around, but there is a method to our madness. There's just a lot going on right now. And I've talked to you before about not having any money. We're saving most of our cash to do some expensive things that professionals need to do. So we have a lot of volunteer activities going on that are low cost, no cost. And we're finishing up a bunch of things like our roof work and our drainage work. And then unfortunately, I had to go to kind of a little family emergency this week. My brother had a medical issue. He's going to be fine. But Joe and I conquered and divided, and I headed up to Fort Worth for a few days. And she came down here to get the house open on Wednesday. And I'm so sorry I missed it because it was just one of those feel-good days for us. We have this incredible group of volunteers, and we have people that come for events or for special volunteer work days. But we have a handful, well, more than a handful now, that know the days we're open and they just show up to do work. And everybody's kind of settled into a pattern and they have their own specialties now and projects they work on. And I think we had 11 volunteers show up to do various things. Sherry was here. Kelly was here. Our volunteer Karen was here. And let me stop right there and tell you something fun that Karen is doing. She's a writer and she has started a blog. So on our webpage, leaguekempnerhouse.org, we have a blog that Joe had posted a few things a long time ago, but we're trying to do a once a month or maybe even twice a month posting out there. And Karen has taken that over. And for you history nuts that want to know about the family and the history of Galveston, Karen is at the library going through those 122 boxes or whatever it is of J.C. League's papers. Now, let me do a little bit of a backup. When J.C. League died, his wife, Nellie, was still in this house, and his daughter, Daisy, had married Waters Davis and lived 2 blocks over. Daisy and her husband sold their house, moved back in with Nellie. They stayed here another 18 months, 2 years, closed up J.C.'s business, sold the house to Eliza Kempner, and they headed up to New York. So when they made that move, they donated a ton of personal things to the Rosenberg Library. We know that Nellie's wedding dress is there, Eliza's wedding dress is there. We haven't seen it. Those things are archived and not readily accessible. But what we can get to is those 122 boxes. So Karen is meticulously going through that and looking for just some fun things to tie the leagues to Galveston history. And she's writing about those on our blogs and showing you what she found. So go check that out. Our volunteer Jean came, our intern Tiffany came, Beth was here, our volunteer Pat was here, Rich came. People were just coming from all over the place. And as I said, it was fun because everybody has their own little niche and places that they work. And I'm going to get to work today and go visit with Sherry and Roman. Okay, one project that we've talked about for a long time is this greenhouse restoration. And you saw Sherry digging out all this to put in an herb bed. We've got all the borders that Alfred picked up for us, he and Pepper from the Fran Kelly estate. We've already used some of them here to dress up a little bit our pond. And today I have brought the pressure washer. We're going to tackle this bottom concrete portion, get that pressure washed so it can dry out so we can paint it before we put this bed in and put any mulch back up. So that is our activity today. Before getting started, Roman and I took another look at the greenhouse. I don't know if you remember, but we had talked about moving the supports. So originally the greenhouse has just 4 supports that go from that top metal frame to the ground, in addition to the support on either end. And we had looked and measured, trying to figure out if we could keep them there or if we needed to move them
to accommodate using this as some kind of a reception venue with tables and everything. And I had spent a lot of time online mapping out tables and coming up with the placement we wanted, and the welding group was going to come in and move these for us. But I had an idea driving in that the supports themselves go into a clamp structure that's drilled and bolted onto that frame. And I thought, instead of welding something, what if we could just undo those clamps, drill new holes, and move them, and have the welders just weld up the holes that were left or reinforce that. So Roman and I got the tape measure out to look at them and see how far we would have to move them. And one thing we never did, and this is embarrassing, but we don't try to make ourselves look good on video. Obviously, we show you what we do, kind of warts and all. When we measured what we came up with and wanted to have in the greenhouse going forward, it's exactly where the existing ones were. So we don't need to move them at all. All we have to do is just go down to the metal fabricator and order the correct length and size of pipe to go in here and get them hot dipped. So we are at the stage where we're ready to do that. So now that we have taken a problem, or created a problem I should say, and solved it, we've come full circle and realized we didn't have a problem at all. With our non-existent problem solved, we got back to the task at hand, and Roman came up with a new game plan for the day.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to have a workout.
Good. And then John's getting the quote on the wood.
Yeah.
But this will give us something to work on. And Sherry and I are going to pressure wash and paint.
Okay.
So that'll make a big visual
That'll make a big difference.
impact.
And again, we can get started
and we
on
can get started on these guys.
Yep.
Which will be a big visual impact, because the Clean Galveston Backyard Garden Tour is May 17th.
Okay.
So I would like to have something.
Yeah, it sounds
something
like
to look
far
like
away,
we
but
did
it's
something. I know you've worked really hard, but if somebody looked
Yeah.
at it, they would go, "What have you done?" Oh,
Yeah,
there are many.
we haven't had that impact
So we
step
need a
yet.
visual.
So
Visual.
okay.
But the Aggies, you know, if we can get all this dirt out, we might even, you know, get some of the pavers. Missing all the stuff. Okay.
Put it back.
That's not as bad as I thought it would be.
It didn't go very deep. There's that. They went a foot down, which is probably not enough.
Not enough. Well, we'll go straight with a post hole digger and maybe put a form around it.
Wide. But it's easy to dig, so.
Alrighty. Cool. And Missy's over here.
Poor Roman did have his work cut out for him. Because we're not moving those supports, they go right back in the same place that the existing ones were, and there's a big hunk of concrete down there that they anchored the post in originally, so all of that has to be dug out to make room for the new post holes to be dug and filled with concrete with new supports. So he started doing that, and Sherry cranked up the pressure washer and got busy on the sides of the greenhouse. The bottom is a concrete form. It's been painted white in the past, but that paint is long gone, and it's very dirty and mildewy, and we don't want to put new paint on top of that mildew. So Sherry is quite methodical and patient, and she spent most of the day just slowly going back and forth over the concrete. We can't pressure wash the wood structure. It's far too delicate and fragile, so she's being very careful when she gets to that top rail. All of that's going to have to be cleaned and washed by hand, and we're going to put some wood hardener on it. It can be saved, but this pressure washer would cut right through it. I found this pretty funny. I speeded this footage up by 1,000%, and Sherry is so methodical and careful that if it weren't for Roman running around in the background, you would have no idea that this clip was speeded up so quickly. This is a tedious task, and it took a long time to do. And it's just another example of why our volunteers are so important. There are many things in this house that are tedious and time consuming, and if we had to pay for that, the cost would be overwhelming. But our volunteers do all of those things for free, and that's what lets us restore this house with so little in resources.
You're a professional. That looks better already. That looks better. you, what'd you
So,
say? Oh.
hole number 1 was pretty lucky. Hole number 2 wasn't as bad, but the problem is with these two, it looks like kind of
Oh, it's
attached
underneath.
themselves under. So I tried to sledgehammer it, pickaxe it. Might need a jackhammer or an angle grinder. Maybe we can cut it or something.
Yeah.
Because it's not budging because it's
Stuck under there.
stuck under there. Even if it's just
Is
wedged
this one
under.
that way too?
Yeah. So 2 are like that. This one you could see even clearer. And this is only goes down like that, but it may just be wedged under it, or it may be kind of fused with it. I can't tell.
Stuck.
But it is
That's
stuck.
stuck.
It is for sure stuck. So
Okay.
we got to put our heads together.
I do have a
Chisel
6-foot
it out
pry
or
bar that we might be able to
Maybe.
cram under it
I don't
and
wanna
see if we
damage
can rock
this.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how the second one
Oh,
would work.
okay.
It was
Oh,
a
you
little
got
bit
the
under.
sledgehammer. Oh wait. Okay, I'm trying not to get your behind. Pretend to shovel. I didn't want to. I don't want to.
Ain't no pretending. This is the real stuff.
Roman would absolutely not be deterred from his mission. He worked and worked and worked and worked on these big chunks of concrete. He used every tool we had. He just would not give up. And I wish I had a good picture of the front of him, just how dirty and sweaty he was. This was hard work. It was a beautiful, cool day, but it's just very physical doing stuff like this. And it has to be done, and we're so grateful he has the patience to do it. You can see Sherry's already moved around and is almost finished with the greenhouse, and he is still working on this thing. But he was finally successful and able to take a break and get some much needed rest. So thank you, Roman and Sherry, for doing that. And we've wrapped up the day. We had a great tour day. You saw Joe, I think, in the background walking around with some of our guests. And then we headed home and came back for another beautiful, beautiful work day.
It is a gorgeous spring day here today, and we are excited to be moving on from some of the horrible projects we've been doing. Today is the day, fingers crossed, oh my gosh, I hope this happens, that the roofers come back and put the very last chimney cap on, and we call that phase of roofing done and move on and don't have to think about roofing for a while. It's been almost a year, and you've seen all that. We don't need to rehash it. The other thing that we're hopefully putting to bed soon is our drainage piping over here. I have a little more tweaking to do. I've been working on covering it up. Joe commented how nice it was to walk up and not have the trench, but you can see we've made kind of a mess. I thought about bringing the truck today to go to the dump and clean some of that up, but we have something exciting coming up, and that's a Texas A&M work day. We have asked for somewhere between 10 and 15 students to come next Saturday and do a bunch of yard work, a bunch of cleaning in the basement. We don't know exactly how many students we have, but it's a time for us to really do some massive cleanup and get organized. So there you go. Sherry and Roman have been here doing their thing, getting the greenhouse ready. The pressure washing's been done, and it's time for a radical change, and that's to paint the bottom concrete, which will really start making this thing shine. And I want to talk to you about the paint I have selected. So this is a Home Depot product. It's a bare porch and patio paint. It's a low luster enamel. It has what they deem a mildew resistant finish, and I love this paint. It may or may not be exactly what should go on here, but it's something I have a lot of experience with and has performed just exceptionally well for me down at the Lucas Apartments. And I'm about to head down there and meet Emilio, who you've met in our basement doing work. He's been doing some work for me personally down at the apartments, and I want to show you what we did with this paint down there in case you missed some of those videos. Now, before we get down there, let me just tell you, it is made for concrete porches. So it's a specialty concrete paint. It's also what they deem breathable. And there's a lot of debate and discussion about what that really means, if it's really breathable. at all, but I know it's not an elastomeric paint, which is something that they used to use on concrete. And they had a view before that you sealed the concrete and covered it with a water proof paint that was impenetrable. The problem was that if there was a tiny hole or a crack in that paint, water would get in and then couldn't get out. And let me show you what happened down at the Lucas, where it had been previously painted with some elastomeric paint.
It is September 4th, 2015. This is never a good thing to find on your house after it rains. Thank you, house, the gift that keeps on giving.
So I know for a fact this doesn't do that. Let me go ahead and go meet Emilio and show you what we've done down there. So y'all may have seen when I went to the Houston Architectural Salvage when they were going out of business, I found this window that'll fit in a carriage house, and Emilio is going to help me put it in. So he's getting set up to start working. There he is. Hi, Emilio. But what I wanted to show you is back here in the carriage house. If you saw a couple of years ago, Ricardo and crew did a lot of work, and they painted back here. It was a lot of work. And at some point, I'm going to do a video about the Lucas apartment. It's a fascinating building, but what I want to talk to you about is specifically that paint. So what I'm showing you right now is a corner of the apartments that never, ever, ever sees sun. The way that it's situated, this stays completely in shade every day, all year long. And I'm going to go back and find a picture and show you what it used to look like before we painted. So you can see that without sun to kill the mold and dry, this is a very problematic corner. And that scummy mold was probably a 1/4 inch or more thick. Now this has been painted for almost 2 years, and it is as clean and nice looking as the day we got it painted. So this paint has done extremely well. Now I tested several paints before I settled on this one, and I did a lot of research on lime washes and everything. I'm not going to go into why I ended up with this, but I'll just say I'm extremely happy with the result. It's been on the front of the house for over 10 years, and where I did it on the front, it is not mildewed, and the front has the same issue. It never, ever, ever sees sun, and I get a lot of hate mail and comments on Facebook about the front not being painted because of those shell-like things up there, and there's a reason why it's not painted. I'll get into all that when I do a film about the Lucas. It's not neglected. The house is not falling down. It doesn't need to be sold to somebody that will take care of it. It's taken care of just fine, but it's a very complex structure, kind of like the League house. But I wanted to show you how well this paint holds up. This is very wet brick. We have a lot of moisture issues inside. It's never bubbled. It's never pulled away. It's not mildewed. And when it does get dusty, I can just take the hose, not pressure wash, just the hose and a regular nozzle, and hose it down, and it looks good as new. So that's why we've decided to use it on the bottom of that greenhouse. While I'm here, I think I'll do a little before video. The yard looks awful. Actually, this is looking a little better here. It was really decimated in the freeze and the bad weather, and it will all come back. It just looks a mess right now, but it's gorgeous when it's in full bloom. And my wonderful tenant, Victoria and Kelly, have started the weeding process. This is usually full of vinca. That's usually full of vinca. That's usually full of vinca, crepe myrtles, roses. It looks really good, but not right now. So I appreciate all the work they're doing. I need to get over and help them. And this is a huge, big Peggy Martin rose, and it is trying to bud out. And in the past, it has been just stunning. So hopefully it will perform again this year. But I need to get back. Oh, there's some handiwork my husband did. He came and did a few chores. This is an income producing property for us. This is how we make a living. So all the projects here kind of get parsed out based on criticality and budgeting. But slowly but surely, the whole thing is getting redone. But I need to get back to the League-Kempner House and get going down there. It's my lucky day. We are stocking for summer tours. Fortunately, Emilio's helping me at the Lucas, and he came down to look at something and help me unload. It's good to have muscle. All right, it's just Joe and I today. Sherry had a luncheon, so she's been doing tours. I've been outside doing projects. The roofers came. Hallelujah, it's over. It's done. We're finished, at least with this stage of it.
Yep. They're scary.
It's the right size?
Yeah. Pretty steep.
It is steep.
No one likes working on this roof. It's very steep and very high, and the boom is gone. The boom would not reach this chimney anyway, so they used some ropes they had to tie the cap onto and hoist it up, and then they went out the bathroom window with the ladder like we always do to get this thing up here. But it was nice to get it done and get it on and be finished with this roofing project. We still have some more roof to go. This is not the end, but it's the end for hopefully 2 or 3 years. We have to move on to the flat roof and the porch on the front, and there's some reasons why we've delayed doing that we'll get into later. But for now, it was great to see this final chimney cap go on and be able to just put this behind us and get on with other work.
I'm gonna get out of your way. But I've been out here trying to clean up where Sherry did the hard work of digging out the grass along the greenhouse. We showed you where the herb garden's going to go, but the dirt's full of broken glass and debris, and I've been sifting it through this old screen and putting it into pots. So I'm trying to get all of this cleared away because we need those pots full of dirt for our plant sale that's coming up. So Alfred had brought us a bunch of old pots he had. I cleaned up here on the side of the garage and extended our little fake flower bed. I've just been filling everything with dirt. But now I'm on to potting some things out of the yard to get them ready for the plant sale.
I didn't get too far in my project because I was interrupted by something fabulous. Last year when I picked up those scrapbooks down at Scotty's Antique Warehouse, I met a gentleman who dropped by the house today with his wife and brought something incredible. He has a picture of his grandmother's house that sat at 1804 Broadway. So just in the next block over, you can see here on this map where we sit, where 1804 Broadway was, and just in the next block over, Daisy and Waters' house at 19th and Broadway that I showed you earlier. And this is the only known photograph of this house. It's very tiny. It's not much bigger than a postage stamp, but he's going to have it scanned in a high resolution scan and get to us so we can blow it up. I'm working on recreating all of the houses on Broadway around us. And he brought us some other fabulous things that we'll share with you in another video. So I'm going to leave you with that tease and wrap up today, and we will pick up next week here at the League-Kempner House in Galveston as we start transforming that greenhouse and get the Aggie work crew in here and really start making some big strides forward in our projects outdoors. So thanks for watching. We are the League-Kempner House in Galveston, Texas, and we will see you next week. And don't forget, if you're interested, you can check out our YouTube memberships and start getting some extra content, and we hope to see you there.